I'm talking here now with Matt McGary, who's from the Sweetbridge Alliance, and he's going to tell us all about their financial inclusion projects.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here. And we're an open source foundation. We're really about protocols for prosperity. We believe in a transparent stablecoin coupled with other protocols and applications to make different use cases for business individuals powerful. So we have a little bit of a different strategy than many, and we do see upon ourselves to engage with governments to inform them so they make better policy. And so just last week I met with members of the U.S. Treasury and the Chamber of Commerce and a couple of congressmen who represent the Blockchain Caucus. And the idea was for them to understand the impact on innovation, the impact on financial inclusion that blockchain and the cryptocurrencies could have. And our call to action was when the SEC Chairman Clayton took such decisive action around the bad actors that we all understand are a problem and a challenge, we've asked him to be as swift with action to enable the good actors. And we want to give some use cases and examples how protocols for prosperity can help improve GDP, financial inclusion, build a middle class in developing countries. And ultimately, if the U.S. doesn't embrace this as an opportunity for innovation, we'll be left behind. We are global citizens, but we also live in America and care about the American market. And we'll go where the talent and money and opportunity exists. And unlike the last big wave of innovation around the internet, which the U.S. dominated, if you created 10 categories for the internet, you would find out the American companies represent winners in each particular category. But this blockchain movement, it started with Bitcoin, is global, and everybody else is waking up and saying, hey, this is our opportunity to catch up or go faster than the U.S. So we are informing the government that they might miss an opportunity unless they take positive action to support good actors.
What was the reaction to that?
I was surprised how good the reaction was. I think the U.S. Department of Treasury has a stable economic oversight committee, and even though they're not the policy enforcers like the SEC and the Commodities Exchange and a number of other financial services, I think they took interest, and we've been invited back to have a broader, deeper discussion. But we do believe, certainly for agricultural-based countries, that if you were able to change the dynamics, for instance, of the rice trade, and we're able for rice farmers to have the same cost of capital as North American farmers enjoy, you would radically change the economics of that local farming community, and that's a good thing, because with that comes identity, middle class, access to information, and generally what we would say prosperity over time.
So how are those markets not being served adequately now that where you saw you could step in?
Well, I think the microfinancing movement has been tremendously successful relative to their initial goals. But we think about it, we still have 500 million farmers that have difficulty getting a loan. And microfinancing is about making the loans lower cost and smaller and down to the individual, but you still have a challenge with identity and risk assessment. So with the blockchain, if you give people identity and then you're able to track history about this year's crop harvest, that even in a country like Vietnam where property ownership is not clear, if they have a virtual identity on the blockchain, you can take a risk assessment and offer them money at lower rates than you could before. And even though you call it microfinancing, and there are some projects that have millions of people have benefited from it, it's still, in my mind, limited scale. So we think blockchain is another step change in making it more available, more broadly.
So Sweetbridge Alliance, is it a combination of different projects, or is it a platform itself for providing these services?
That's a great question. We are a combination of projects. So the Alliance is a way to stimulate the ecosystem. So we have a protocol stack that the Sweetbridge Foundation creates around these protocols for prosperity, settlement, asset liquidity, transparent stablecoin. But what we want to do is seed those applications or use those protocols in very specific use cases. So there are 30 members of our alliance today, going to 100. Some big companies that are like, an IBM and their interest in Hyperledger. There's some market participant we should be familiar with. But then there are 14 companies you didn't hear of 3 years ago that are startups that have a big idea. Like one of those big ideas is to use a combination of a barter and cryptocurrency platform to two agricultural countries, let's say Nigeria and Vietnam, can trade without going into US dollar and therefore avoid expensive foreign transaction fees and foreign currency risk. That could potentially reduce the financial burden on the supply chain, which would make, you could, if you tokenize rice, give the farmer a bigger piece of the pie, and the consumer would get higher quality rice at a lower price. And rice feeds the world. So if you could look at the rice supply chain and find clever ways to solve for how do we reduce the financial charges that don't add value to the end product, good things would happen.
Right, so you're not actually wedded to any one token or blockchain. You have multiple, and multiple protocols that you can use as well.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we have had our genesis was part of the Sweetbridge Foundation. We learned, and we are decentralized by faith, religion, and directive. So we're now independent, and the goal here is to solve for the problem and use any blockchain, public or private, or any protocols that serve the purpose. So we started off promoting one protocol stack, but now our view is we're focused on the business problem and how do we get a business result.
So do these networks for more access to financial services and financial inclusion, do they have any utility at all in the developed world, so here in the US, or are they really only useful in emerging economies or developing economies?
I mean, I think we'd argue they have a global impact even in mature, stable economies, but the impact is so much greater. So where you want to start is where the value proposal is so much stronger, and then later on it can be absorbed globally. But ultimately, we think inclusion, FICO scores and the ways that people have typically been having access to credit, it's a little bit old-fashioned and it's a little lethargic and it's a little cumbersome and it's a little expensive. So we think if we can solve for rice farmers having increased liquidity against a future crop yield, we can also do the same in the U.S., particularly for people who may be reluctant to share their identity or don't have a credit card like millennials, and looking at new ways to be able to justify that this person is reasonable risk and we will be able to loan them money.
Oh, excellent. And you're a speaker here at the Crypto Invest Summit today. What do you think of the event so far? Are you surprised by the turnout?
I am surprised by the turnout. I thought I was witnessing conference fatigue, and then with crypto winter, I was thinking the attendance might be low. But then again, it is spring and tax season's over and Bitcoin and Ethereum are rising up and people are now thinking it's time to get back into the market. And maybe the pretenders or the fraudulents or those with a weak value proposition have faded by the wayside. And through the process of natural selection, if you're surviving, maybe there's some real Generation 2, Generation 3 blockchain companies being born. So I'm delighted with the enthusiasm. Of course, it's hard when you leave your seat. You can't get back in because it's sold out. And the fire marshal won't let any more people in the room.
Excellent. And so where can people find out more about the Sweetbridge Alliance if they want?
Well, the sweetbridge.org, our website, has a lot of information about all the Sweetbridge structures. And we certainly look for finding good entrepreneurial teams who want to solve for supply chain transparency, liquidity, and moving payments through the supply chain much faster at a network level. So we are investing in those young projects, helping mentor them, and importantly, we're connecting them to the channel masters so that they can have a first pay customer. I mean, our goal is to get people to a place where they're commercially viable. So we're not at the infrastructure level, we're really at the application in service of a business outcome.
Okay, that's Mac McGary, president of the Sweetbridge Alliance. Thanks so much for talking to us, Mac.
Thank you very much. Thank you.